the fall of 24, I teased our dean that all that stood between us and the first grad student doing their thesis research in space was money. That is, we didn't have to invent a rocket, didn't have to build spaceport, we didn't have to figure out air traffic control and federal regulation. That's all been done. All we needed to do was spend money. And so he really took a liking to that, and he took it from there. And all of a sudden, rather than my initial dream was just me, and then wouldn't it be great to have a grad student too? And all of a sudden, it's this whole big Purdue mission.
Hello, I'm Darrat, FY26 President of the Society of Women Engineers. Welcome to Diverse, SWE podcast. Today, I'm joined by Abigail Mizzi, a SWE member who's pursuing her master's in aeronautical and astronautical engineering at Purdue University, and Dr. Steven Collicott, a professor in Purdue School of Aeronautics and Astronautics. Together, they're part of Purdue One, a groundbreaking space mission that will allow students and faculty to conduct hands-on research in microgravity. I'm so excited to learn more about this project and talk about the power of mentorship and allyship and how communities like SWE prepare engineers for opportunities like these. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Diverse.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for having us.
I'm actually very excited to hear about this. As someone who didn't pursue this for work in the end, but who was really interested in the space program. And one time I thought, I wanted to go work for NASA. When this opportunity came to talk to the two of you, I was very, very excited to hear more about it and just our continued, move towards space. So Dr. Collicott, for listeners who may not be familiar with Purdue One, can you walk us through what this mission is, what you're studying, and why it's such a big deal for university-led research?
Yes, thank you. I'll try to be quick here, too. Purdue One is the name given to a spaceflight mission on the Virgin Galactic suborbital spacecraft. There are 6 seats in that vehicle, and 5 of them are filled with Boilermakers. That's Purdue people. And 1 is filled with a payload rack. And so I have an experiment flying on that mission, and I will be controlling the experiment to study how liquids advance over solid surfaces and weightlessness, applicable to a number of different systems in spaceflight. We can go into that more if you desire. And Abby has her own fluids experiment. So there's she and I each have our own experiment. Then there'll be 3 Purdue alums flying along with us. And that makes up 5 people and 1 payload rack. And actually there's 2 more spots in the payload rack, and 2 automated experiments from Purdue people will also be flying on board. And so that's Purdue One, and we're flying to space and back on Virgin Galactic on their commercial reusable suborbital spacecraft. Virgin Galactic tells us we'll be in 2027, so we've got a year here to get everything ready. And why is it of interest? Well, there's a number of firsts involved. Abby will certainly be the first graduate student to do his or her thesis research in space, not just weightlessness, or zero gravity as we call it, but in space. Much smoother, higher quality zero gravity than in parabolic aircraft flight, longer too. And these will be the first large human-tended experiments in suborbital spaceflight. It's really kind of, to me, clear evidence of a certain level of maturity in the industry that such experiments, human-tended experiments, are now feasible and practical and welcome. And, it's the first university charter of a space flight, and that's important to the industry. It's a whole new avenue of access to space. So there's just a lot of firsts that come together in this, and it's really exciting to be a part of it.
Truly, like all the firsts and then the excitement around it. So quick question for you. Was this something you ever thought, the opportunity would be there to do? Or when you saw Virgin Galactic, said, oh, we're going to start doing commercial flights, was this something you were like, oh, we could jump on this? Or did the opportunity just come from other avenues?
Well, it's a long string of things. 30 years ago, I started teaching a class called Zero Gravity Flight Experiment, and we were doing parabolic aircraft flight experiments. And then in 2008, I got involved with the commercial suborbital industry in the U.S. I saw, thanks to an alum who got me involved, that I saw that this stuff was going to happen. And then for many years, flying automated experiments and dreaming of, gee, maybe I can get somehow justify a human-intended experiment. And then in December of 21, NASA's Flight Opportunities Program picked my proposal to be that first large human-intended experiment in suborbital flight. And then, well, in the fall of 24, I teased our dean that all that stood between us and the first grad student doing their thesis research in space was money. That is, we didn't have to invent a rocket. We didn't have to build spaceport. We didn't have to figure out air traffic control and federal regulation. That's all been done. All we needed to do was spend money. And so he really took a liking to that, and he took it from there. And all of a sudden, rather than my initial dream was just me, and then wouldn't it be great to have a grad student too? And all of a sudden, it's this whole big Purdue mission. So a good idea kind of snowballed. I remember I was 8 years old watching Armstrong and Aldrin step on the moon and wanted to be one of those NASA moon astronauts. And then a couple of years later, I got my eyeglasses and realized, I was never going to be one of those very special NASA astronauts. And so all these years later now, it's kind of come around. My childhood dream gets to come true. I will be going to space. And that, besides all the research and the impact on industry and science, that's a real joy for me too.
Which is amazing, because that really goes with the theme of Embrace Your Story, which is the SWE theme this year, and how we pivot, right? And so, when one door opens, another door closes, and we never know where it could take us. But in your case, Dr. Collicott, yes, you had to pivot, and you didn't think you were going to go in space. But by embracing who you are and what your dream was, you ended up going to space later on in life. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I only had to wait half a century.
Yes, sometimes things happen later, right? But again, you embraced who you are and what you wanted, and, the doors kept opening and opening, and then you opened your own doors, right? By going to the dean and going, what can we do about this? And so that's really amazing.
Years of hard work and working with capable people and discussing it, and how do we justify the cost of the human being in the rocket for research as opposed to automation? And there are some obviously legitimate answers to that, because there's two of us here who are going to fly, and others are flying other experiments following us. So it's not a trivial task, but it is doable. And for example, if you're working on something very nonlinear in physics, you don't know how to automate it ahead of time. And so sending a human observer up with it to observe it in action and to make real-time decisions is quicker, possibly cheaper, certainly lighter weight, and less electromagnetic interference with the vehicle than a big chunk of electronic automation to try to do it automatically. So humans have a place in space. If volcanologists go to volcanoes, why can't microgravity researchers go to space?
I love that. And I really like the fact that you shine a light on the fact that, yes, computers can do things or machines can do things, but humans, there's certain things that only humans can do. And this is one of them. And so using all the tools that we have to help us along the way, but there's still things that we have to do, right? To make sure that we get what we need and the results that we need. Well, that's wonderful. So, Abby, you're one of those grad students who will be joining Dr. Collicott. How did you learn about this? What got you interested in it? How are you feeling about the whole, being able to be one of the first grad students in space?
Yeah, no, this has been an incredible past few months, it all coming together, because I did my bachelor's degree at Purdue in aeronautical and astronautical engineering, and knew I wanted to go to grad school just to continue learning at Purdue, because I had so many great experiences in undergrad and gotten to get my foot into research and start doing small research tasks. And so I was excited for grad school to really have a 2-year-long research thesis project that I could really dive in and learn way more from over the 2-year course. And this opportunity came about with Dr. Collicott, and we talked over the summer, and he then surprised me and shared that this would be an opportunity to go with the experiment on the suborbital space mission. And that was just I don't know, above my dreams, above what I had even expected to come about. I just thought it would be cool getting to work on an experiment that I could say my experiment went to space, and now getting to be I get to be there with it and operate it and be hands-on with it and get to see the data coming in real time and then make decisions to figure out how to get even better data while we're up there is just was very exciting when I was told, and just like every day I get more excited for it because I get to learn more from it, and just like so many opportunities are coming out of this opportunity that I never expected to happen.
Well, that's really great to hear. So clearly then this has been a dream, right? And hopefully you'll get to see it through in 2027 when you get to fly in space. So a couple of things I have for you is, as an engineer, we don't always necessarily think we're going to get to go to space because we designed as you put it, you designed the experiment and then maybe potentially someone else takes it into space, right? Just with the limited number of people who've been able to go into space. So how are you feeling about the fact that not only are you designing it, but from an engineering perspective of being one of those engineers in space, doing the experiment and learning from it in real time? Like, what are like some of the yaya moments you're expecting to see while you're in space, besides the fact that you're going to be cool in space, but just even like your experiment and what you're planning on doing?
Yeah, no, I that's why I think it's so exciting, is that it's really like making me think beyond like any other engineering challenge has made me think so far, and that like I am also like, I'm the designer, but I'm also like the end operator. And so like, how do I design it for myself to like best use to get like the best data? And getting to like see it through to the end is really exciting, because then like it's not like you're using a device and you're like, oh, why is it designed so poorly? Like, this is annoying or upsetting. It's like, oh, I designed it like that. Like, this is on me to make sure that when I'm up there, it works correctly and that all of the uncertainties were thought through completely. And like, it's just fully like on me and my team, like Dr. Collicott, and like all of us coming together to make sure that we think through everything, because we're also the end user. We can't go point and put blame on anybody else if something doesn't work. So I think it's like very full circle.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. So I have a question. How did you become selected for this amazing opportunity?
Yeah, so I applied to grad school, just like, or Dr. Collicott, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I could explain. You know, I think it's really cool. Abby was starting to say she applied to grad school, and yes, she did that before this mission existed. Just like the rest of our grad students, she applied, was, you know, evaluated by an admissions committee and deemed qualified for graduate school here. And all that was before the mission. She had expressed an interest in her application in fluids or propulsion, and which the experiments relate to. And so she did that before the mission even existed. So then once the mission existed, there was a small pool of candidates who had been through this, you know, application, evaluation, and preferences process. And then we formed a thesis committee of 4 professors, and interviewed these prospective students. And Abby was the one that the committee decided was most suitable for this mission. I think all of our graduate students here are remarkable young engineers and researchers, and many of them could do this, and we're very happy to have Abby as part of this mission.
Well, congratulations, Abby. And we'll talk a little bit more about how wonderful Abby is in a second as well. But one of the things I wanted to cover, Dr. Collicott, since you started talking about how you made the selections, is that, and you also said earlier that you'll also be on this mission. So this is, I guess, normally, like, you know, when people go into space, it's not normally a mentor and their graduate student, a faculty advisor and their graduate student. It's, you know, just someone going off into space. So this is also like potentially a first, because we'll have a faculty mentor or faculty advisor and faculty with their graduate students doing side-by-side experiments in space, where like you're going to be able to glean information from each other. Yes, you're both going to be doing your own experiments, but hopefully you'll be working together while you're in space. So what are you thinking about what the roles are going to be? Like, how are you planning on doing some of that research? Like, how are you prepping? What's the expectation of the collaboration in space for both Dr. Collicott and Abby? Like, how are you perceiving this, and what are you thinking about for the future?
Yeah, we're definitely breaking some new ground here, working with Virgin Galactic in 2026 to develop these in-cabin procedures. How are we going to physically do this with 2 researchers, 1 payload rack, and 3 other people in the vehicle? But it is a short space flight. We'll be in space about 3 minutes, which is a long stoplight. The primary function for both of us is to focus on our individual experiment. So I don't see that there's a lot of time for a lot of back and forth in this. There'll be probably some initial work making certain we got the experiments turned on, and then the other Purdue experiments, automated ones, going. But I think it's largely in the space flight itself is largely going to be independent work, but we're working together beforehand, getting through all the safety procedures, developing payload boxes, and working through all the pre-flight testing, and trying to do some training too with parabolic flights for Abby to get her accustomed to weightlessness. I've done about 500 parabolas already in my career, but then there's also some centrifuge training to get accustomed to the accelerations in the mission, which are not extreme, but certainly not what we live in our everyday lives. We'll do a little bit of training there too.
And Abby, how are you feeling about just the training piece of it? I'm pretty sure you didn't have training in mind when you applied for grad school, and then the project management of making sure you can get your experiment done. So what are you looking forward to between now and when the actual mission launches?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think especially this early in my career, in my 20s, to be able to have this opportunity to go to space, I had not expected, just because that's not been common for most people in their journey to space. And so I'm really excited for all of the aspects of training, physically preparing my body to experience all of those forces in the flight, but also then to be able to mentally be really fast decision making, since it is only 3 minutes that we have to get all the data we want. It's mentally preparing to be ready every second of the flight and make quick on the fly decisions and know how to fix something if the experiment goes a little bit goes unexpectedly, how to account for all of those unexpected circumstances. So I feel there's a lot of mental preparation as well to go into it besides the physical part. So it's been very exciting, and a lot of learning has already happened.
That's great. On this, Dr. Collicott, one of the things is allyship is one of the things we discuss within SWE. And so how do you see your role for mentors and allies, especially in aerospace, when it comes to creating opportunities like this wonderful opportunity that you all have created for emerging engineers?
Oh, I don't know if those things came into it at all. I was just trying to do more and more of a good idea and, help open up space to more and more people, space flight for research. The work we do there is challenging and can't be done in the labs here on Earth and in gravity. So it's not a folly. It's a necessary step for advancing science. I'm starting my 36th year now as a professor, and so I mentored a lot of grad students and undergrads along the way.
This opportunity sounds amazing. And that's what allyship is, right? Is opening up the door for anyone who wants to become part of a community, and just recognizing that where any of us have the opportunity or the privilege to do so, we can push that forward so we can bring others with us. So thank you for sharing your insights. Abby, I do have a follow-up question for you. I kind of said earlier that we would get to this. So congratulations on being recognized as a SWE Outstanding Collegiate Member, receiving that award. Many people within SWE know that the SWE Awards program is very near and dear to my heart. And so very excited to see that, every time I get to meet an award recipient, it's always very exciting. So could you share what your involvement in SWE has been and how it's shaped your engineering career so far, and also what the award meant to you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been involved in SWE since my freshman year at Purdue. I was actually going around the Purdue different clubs during the first week of my freshman year, and I went to all the tables and just tried to really get a feel of what all the different clubs were at Purdue. And Society of Women Engineers is one of the ones that I was excited to join, because actually in high school, the Purdue Society of Women Engineers had reached out and invited me to a day where you can come visit Purdue and get to meet a bunch of students and get to learn about engineering. And that was really very cool, except that it was COVID. So it was a virtual version of that special SWE weekend. And so I'd only met them virtually. And so when I was going to the club fair, I was trying to look for their table to try and meet some of those women now in person, now that I was at Purdue. And I got to find it. It was hard at first, but I did find the table, buried in the sea of tables. And then one of the president actually remembered me, which was so sweet, just her remembering me from one of the high school girls on the Zoom. I thought was very nice and touching of her and kind, and so helped me feel welcomed as well into the club. And so from there, then I just kept going to meetings and getting to meet more other students and engineers, especially the aerospace engineers. I really wanted to hear their advice and hear what types of classes they were taking, just to get more advice on what specialty I should go into and what career I might want to have. The meeting Purdue alumni who were from SWE was also very exciting, and they always had great like alumni stories to share. And then I kept doing SWE stuff at Purdue and getting involved and was a director for 2 of the years. And then I was president, which was really awesome, getting to lead the Purdue Society of Women Engineers and really seeing how we contribute to the society level, which is global, and that's just so incredible to me. But the Purdue SWE was really special to me and wonderful, just getting to lead my senior year, the board, which is really intimidating because our board is like 40 people, and Purdue is one of like the oldest collegiate sections. So it was just like very exciting to be part of a long-standing organization. And like Purdue was created only a few years after the society. So it was very exciting to just be able to contribute to such an old organization and then get to mentor new freshmen as they came in and just help them figure out if they wanted to do aero or if they wanted to go into electrical engineering or helping them figure out their path. So SWE meant a lot to me, and I've gotten to go to a bunch of different conferences and meet a bunch of alumni, and that's been very exciting. And I've loved seeing how now we can share Purdue One with SWE. And I think something that has been really cool throughout the Purdue One journey so far is seeing the undergrads, because all of the undergraduates now are like, oh, this is like something that I can do. Like if graduate students are getting the opportunity now to go and design experiments and go to suborbital space, then like it's much more in their eyes that they can go and do it in a few years as well. Like that could be something that they could go do. And it's not such a far-fetched dream anymore. It's like Dr. Collicott has made this possible, which it's been beyond my dreams. So I think I've seen it with all the undergrads that I've gotten to work with this past few months, and that they're like super excited that they can potentially have this opportunity if they work hard as well.
Yeah, I will jump in here and say I do provoke our undergrads now and urge them, don't feel like you missed out on Purdue 1. Start scheming for Purdue 2. How do you make that happen? Don't wait for it to happen till you go and try to make it happen. And the other thing for listeners to note about this mission, the Purdue 1 mission is funded through several mechanisms. It's a lot of money. I'm on NASA grant. Abby's flight and experiment are funded by donations from alums, typically alums and friends. The 3 alums are buying their own tickets. So there is no tuition dollars being spent on this. There is no state appropriation money. Purdue's a state school. There is no state appropriation money being spent on this. So this is all in addition to the basic academic functions of Purdue. It's to me an exciting way to advance research and to advance how academia can use spaceflight.
Thank you. It's really great that you're pushing the undergrads to consider what could happen. And I love the idea is you didn't miss out on Purdue 1. How are you going to be part of Purdue 2 or the next set of missions? So that's a wonderful way to look at it and to encourage the next upcoming engineers who are interested, students or early career stage engineers who are interested in being part of a space mission. So any other words of wisdom or advice you have for anyone who is also thinking about going into space and may have thought that that dream has passed them?
Keep at it. If that's what you want, nobody wants it more than you. And don't be passive, be aggressive.
And Abby, any words of wisdom or insights you would like to provide for anyone early career, a student, or even someone who's in mid or late career about going into space?
Yeah, and I think definitely I've gotten here because of the people that have supported me, like my professors, like Dr. Collicott, people like that. And then also just all of those other mentors in my life from all the different internships or managers I've had, supporting me in getting wherever I want because I asked them oh, how do I get this opportunity? Because I'm interested in that, voicing those things and then having those people who will support you in getting where you want has really allowed me to have this opportunity. I think it's the culmination of all of those people. So building up people that you care about and that you can go to and ask for advice. Dr. Collicott has already been so helpful to me in learning all the academic sides and knowing what types of research we need to do and what details about the research, because research is such a learning experience. So I think no matter where you are in life, research, academia, industry, just having those people for me has been really important to continue opening doors and getting those big ambitious dreams and goals that seem maybe too ambitious sometimes, but with the right people, I think that has helped me get where I've tried to go.
Well, thank you, Abby, for those insights. And also for, it doesn't matter where you are in your career, right? Lessons learned of constantly asking questions or asking people, well, how do I get there? Or, I have this dream. What are some insights or information or any advice you have for me, and just keep pushing those boundaries. You're going to be going into space in about a year, or maybe a year and a half, close to 2 years, within the 2 years mark. So congratulations to you both on the selection, and also congratulations about Purdue One. This is going to be very exciting times for the future as well. So any additional items you would like to share with our audience?
I would just say most of your audience might well be engineering undergraduates. We have a lot of great graduate opportunities at Purdue for you. Come and take a look at us on the web and find out what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm Darrat, your FY26 SWE president, and from all of us at SWE, thanks for listening.